Okay, so picture this. You're scrolling through your phone, just checking out memes, whatever's going on in the world, and suddenly you're a cryptocurrency miner.
Mm.
It sounds kind of wild,
Yeah.
but that's the kind of buzz Pi Network is generating. And judging by what you sent over, you're definitely intrigued, and honestly, so are we.
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter around this one, that's for sure.
Exactly. So we're diving deep today, going to unpack all of it, from the tech to, well, let's just say the healthy skepticism surrounding it.
It's definitely captured people's attention. There's no doubt about that. What we'll want to do is look at not just what Pi Network is claiming to do, but really see if those claims, hold water when you compare it to the rest of what's going on in the crypto space.
Totally. So for anyone who maybe hasn't been glued to crypto Twitter, Pi Network is all about making crypto accessible, right? Like literally right from your smartphone. No need for those massive mining rigs we always hear about.
Exactly. They're trying to do something really different from, say, Bitcoin, which relies on that, energy-intensive proof-of-work system. Pi uses something called the Stellar Consensus Protocol.
Okay, and without getting too technical on us, what's the difference? Like, what makes their approach so special, so they say?
Well, think of it this way. With Bitcoin mining, you've got all these computers basically racing to solve super complex math problems. And that's how they add new transactions to the blockchain, which, for anyone who needs a reminder, is like that big public ledger where all the transactions are stored.
Right, like a global spreadsheet everyone can see, but no one can mess with.
Exactly. But the thing is, that process, all that computing, it uses a ton of energy.
And Pi Network says, we've found a way around that.
That's the claim. With their Stellar Consensus Protocol, instead of relying on raw computing power, they use a network of these trusted nodes to validate transactions.
Okay.
And that, according to them, makes it way more energy efficient, and that's why they say it can run smoothly on something like your phone.
They make it sound easy as pie.
Yeah, they definitely lean into that.
But in all seriousness, their app, it seems to encourage you to use it every day, but not in a way that, like, kills your battery. Have you found anything about how they manage that?
It is interesting. It's almost like they've gamified the whole experience. So there are different roles within the network. You've got pioneers, who are the everyday users. Those are the ones mining Pi. Then you have contributors. They basically vouch for the trustworthiness of other users. Then there are ambassadors, who are all about bringing new people into the fold. And finally, there are nodes. And these are essentially users who contribute some of their computer's resources to the network, kind of like lending a helping hand.
So they've built this whole, like, ecosystem where really participation is incentivized.
Yeah.
But what's in it for, say, the average person, the one who's just clicking that button every day?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Or, well, maybe the $0 question if you're talking to some of the skeptics out there.
Because here's the thing, the catch.
Yeah.
Right now, you can't actually do anything with the Pi you mine. It's like it has no value outside of Pi Network itself.
Exactly. You can't exchange it, buy things with it. And it's not listed on any of the major exchanges.
We were going through some of the materials you sent, and we found this analysis from Susanna Streeter. She's over at Hargreaves Lansdowne. And, well, she didn't hold back. Basically said Pi has no value. Said it's based on this unproven technology. And that there's absolutely no guarantee it'll ever be worth anything.
Yeah, and that's a real concern. We have to remember Pi Network is still in its early phases, and a lot is riding on this open mainnet launch they keep talking about.
Which, let's be honest, feels like it's always just around the corner. But that corner never gets any closer.
Yeah, there's been a lot of, let's call it speculation. There's this Pi Network IOU token. It's floating around on some of the less regulated exchanges, and that's seen some price movement. But, and this is important, when you dig a little deeper, you find out this token, it's not actually officially supported by Pi Network.
So it's like this weird parallel market fueled by, I don't know, hope, maybe a little FOMO, fear of missing out. But we did see this interesting counterpoint from Mr. Flo. Remember him?
Yeah.
He basically argued that even if, and he's not saying they are, but even if the founders of Pi Network were just in it for a quick buck to cash out, they'd have to launch the coin eventually, right?
It's true. He's basically saying they've built up this huge user base, so if they want to, actually make any money from it, they'll need to create a real marketplace where you can actually use Pi.
Which leads us to their vision for the future, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not just talking about creating another Bitcoin, they're talking about a whole ecosystem. Like, imagine using Pi for your everyday transactions.
Right. It's the idea of moving beyond just speculating on its value and into actual utility. There were mentions of PyConnect and PyBridge in the materials you shared, and it seems like the goal there is to make Pi compatible with other blockchains.
Yeah.
So it'll be easier to use, could potentially interact with other cryptocurrencies that could really broaden what you can do with it.
Okay, so instead of just like holding on to Pi and crossing your fingers it goes up in value, you could, theoretically, be buying groceries, paying for stuff online, all powered by their stellar consensus protocol humming away in the background.
Exactly. But, and this is a big but, that's all theoretical. There's a lot that has to go right for that to happen.
Right. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the elephant in the room, those who are saying this whole thing is just a pyramid scheme.
And honestly, you can see where they're coming from. I mean, there's a big emphasis on recruitment, like we were talking about. You get more Pi for inviting your friends. And then you add in the fact that there's no solid launch date and that Pi doesn't have any value in the real world right now.
Yeah, it's understandable why some people are a little wary, maybe even suspicious.
It does feel like they're walking a fine line between, building excitement, which is important, and veering into like unsustainable hype. It makes me think of all those other apps and projects that use this whole referral thing. Like, remember those tap to earn games that were everywhere for a minute?
Oh, yeah, those are coming back to haunt some people, I'm sure.
Hamster combat, anyone.
Right. Not exactly something you're going to trade in for a Tesla these days. A lot of those things, they take off like a rocket, get all these users, and then poof, yeah, they fizzle out.
What happened there? Well, in a lot of cases, it came down to two things. They didn't have any real-world use, and their tokenomics, the way they structured the whole thing, it just wasn't sustainable. You'd get all this hype, they launch on these smaller exchanges, and then almost as quickly, the value would just tank. It's a cautionary tale, for sure, especially for anyone thinking about getting into Pi.
Okay, so let's bring it all home for our listener. We've thrown a lot of information at them, covered the tech, the good, the bad, the potential pitfalls. What are the key takeaways here? What does it all boil down to?
Well, I think if you're someone who's looking for an easy way into cryptocurrency, like you don't have to be a tech wizard or anything. Pi Network makes it pretty simple, right? You download an app, you click a button, and boom, you're supposedly mining cryptocurrency. But, and this is crucial, there are still so many unknowns. Like, there's absolutely no guarantee Pi will ever be worth anything in the real world. And the launch of their open mainnet, the thing that's supposed to make it tradable, it's still up in the air. And then there's the whole recruiting thing, which, as we've said, raises some eyebrows.
So it's not exactly a set it and forget it kind of investment.
Definitely not. You've got to go into this with your eyes wide open, understand the risks, do your research, and maybe the most important thing, don't put in more than you can afford to lose. That's just investing 101. But it's especially true with crypto because, let's face it, it's a wild ride.
Couldn't agree more. This has been, honestly, really eye-opening, even for us. But there's one thing I haven't been able to shake, something I want to leave our listener with to ponder.
Oh, what's that?
What if, and hear me out, what if the thing that makes or breaks Pi Network isn't their tech, isn't their protocol, isn't any of that, but their community?
That's interesting. They've definitely tapped into something. You've got this huge global network, millions of users, all connected, all believing in, well, the promise of Pi, I guess.
Exactly. And that's powerful, right? Imagine millions of people all over the world using Pi for their everyday transactions. That could be a real game changer.
It could be, but it could also backfire. I mean, what happens if that open mainnet launch doesn't live up to the hype? Or what if Pi never actually gains any real value?
Oh, I see what you're saying. The higher the hopes, the harder the fall.
Right. It's almost like, and this might sound strange, but it's almost like we're watching a social experiment unfold in real time.
That's a great way to put it. So to our listener, as you dive deeper into the world of Pi Network, pay attention to that human element, because it might just be the thing that propels Pi to success, or it might be the very thing that brings the whole thing crashing down. Either way, we'll be watching right alongside you.